and welcome back to another amazing episode of This Is a Podcast where we explore the evolving landscape of technology and its impact on the workforce. I'm your host Fahad, and I'm student and engineering captain at the School Online Academy. Today we have the privilege of speaking with Joel Lawhead, a distinguished figure in the geospatial technology sector. Joel is a certified project management professional MPM and a certified Geographic Information Systems professional (GISP). He serves as the Vice President of NV5 Solutions, an award-winning firm specialized in geospatial technology integration and sensor engineering. Joe has been instrumental in developing geospatial applications for prominent organizations including NASA, FEMA, NOAA, and US Navy. He is also the author of the acclaimed book Learning Geospatial Analysis with Python, now its fourth edition, and the developer of the widely used open source Python shapefile library PYSFP. So in this episode, we're gonna deep dive into this amazing library, and we're gonna get a motivation from him, the challenges he has faced, throughout his all career, whether it is in like, you know, per- personal life or in professional career. So, hi Joel, how are you? And welcome to the show.
Good. How are you, Fahad?
I'm great, thanks for asking. So, Joel, before we get into the technical side of your work, I'd love to hear the story behind that career. What drew you to geospatial technology in the first place, and what were some of the pivotal moments along the way?
Yeah, I actually started out in the newspaper business. I had planned to be a journalist. That's what I went to school for. And in college, I was going to get an internship. And I went to the local newspaper, and they had given up all their writing internships. They said, we are starting this new website. So this is back in the 90s. And we need help with that because there's only one guy working on it. So I said, sure, I'll learn how to do that. So um, I started working on that, building the website for the newspaper to get the news online each day. And we initially did it by hand. So we're hand coding HTML pages. And then we began automating it more and more. So that's mainly where I learned to program, even though I did a lot as a kid. That's where I kind of taught myself. So automated, putting the newspaper online, and we kept on doing that more and more. And then during the big .com bubble burst in the late 90s, that sort of fell apart. So I went to another company out at the NASA Stennis Space Center, which was nearby, and they were working on processing satellite data. And so that was my first introduction to geospatial technology. So I began working on that company's website, but was very interested in the NASA data and things they were looking at, and began trying to help with some of the programming related to that. And then just kind of fell in love with mapping, and looking at things from that perspective and the programming behind it. And that's what got my interest in around 2001 was when I first encountered that.
Wonderful, Joel. It's really great to hear about all the things you've mentioned, and I can imagine how difficult was that, to do all the coding with your hands, typing HTML and all that, because and now we see AI can like do coding for us, and if we want an app to be done, we just have to give a prompt to AI or to ChatGPT, and it will just give you a better prompt, or sorry, a better code in HTML, in PHP and Python, whatever you require. So it's really amazing that these all things are now very easy, and at that time it wasn't. So Joel, you've mentioned about the geospatial technology. So for those people who don't know about this field, so could you tell us about that? That what is geospatial technology?
Yes. So geospatial technology is combining computers, people, and maps to build a system that answers questions about the Earth. The most common way people encounter that is usually through online maps like Google Maps or Google Earth. That's the enabling technology behind that. So when you zoom in on a city, you're looking at the aerial and satellite images. That's actually a very complex system that brings together all those aerial images, the road data, and the building labels and all that. So geospatial technology is a technology that enables all that, and it's very important, of course, in navigation, but also agriculture, defense, and even medical science, studying diseases and things like that, how they spread. It's used in just hundreds of fields, and it's very important to that. Yeah, and so it's the algorithms behind it can be very complex sometimes. So yes, you could use AI. I think it's a very wonderful and powerful tool to do vibe coding, as they say. But as far as having it create an app for you, you can do simple things really well. But something complex like geospatial technology, it can help, but it ends up being much more complex than that. And when I first got into geospatial technology, there wasn't a lot of information out there. I had done my background in development through web technology, so I was using a lot of PHP and Perl, and then I looked at Python and loved how simple it was. The syntax, using only white space and very little punctuation, I thought was very elegant and simple to use. And started trying to use that for geospatial technology, but there are very few libraries out there. Also, there weren't many algorithms for geospatial technology, so I started learning that um, people were using geospatial software built by large companies, but they were just clicking buttons. There weren't many tools that taught you the science and the math behind geospatial technology. So in 2008, I started a blog using Python to do simple equations and algorithms behind geospatial technology. For example, maybe calculating the distance between 2 points, or how to test if a point on the Earth is inside of a polygon, like a country or something like that, to do those kinds of simple basic analysis. And that's what really got me into using Python for geospatial technology and mapping. And so I just started doing that more and more. And then I found there were other people that were interested in using Python because there weren't a lot of libraries at the time. And so that's kind of how my expertise in that became known, because I was one of the few people making it easy to use and documenting it, and teaching people how to do it.
Wonderful. It's really a great thing. Like um, it connects computer and humans with each other. Um, it is really wonderful. And you mentioned about the mapping as well. Like it's kind of three in one situation. Yeah,
Yes.
we have three
Yes.
things and one shape. So is it more advanced than the other technologies?
Yeah, I'd say it's more complex than yeah. I've programmed, done software development in different contexts, and it ends up being more complex because a satellite image, a single image of your town is easily many gigabytes. So it's a very large file. So if you're looking at that on the web, um, it's there's a lot going into that to make it work and come through a browser. In the same way, right now we're streaming video, and it's sending a series of images and compressing them and making it look like video, and then combining the audio with it and timing that when they talk, also very complicated. Geospatial technology is a similar challenge where you a large amount of data through a very small pipe, in a browser typically these days, and so that's the challenge behind it, because we think of maps when we're doing geospatial work in layers. So one layer is the satellite image or aerial image, and on top of that, you might put what we call vector data, which is like a drawing of a road data, and it all has to align, right? So it lands in the right place. And then you might have points for cities as another layer, and so on and so forth. So getting all those different data sets to work together and then come through your browser is very complex and challenging, and there's a lot of math behind it. And so the key is developing libraries in different languages to make that accessible to as many people as possible around the world. So that's why I've become very involved in open source technology to help spread geospatial technology. Because originally there were a handful of companies that had proprietary software, and there was almost no open source geospatial software. So um, me and many other people have been working for the last 20 years or so to try to expand the amount of free and open source libraries for people, so anybody anywhere can do GIS and geospatial analysis at home.
Wonderful. Like it's more complex than other technology, but it has their own value. It has its own importance and benefits. Which it provides to the people to use it. So, Joel,
Yeah, so it's a big, very specialized. Yeah, it's a very specialized field. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So, Joel, you work for NASA and other big companies like FEMA and NOAA and the U.S. Navy. So, how's your experience um, with working with kind of such big companies, and did you reach down, reach out there?
Yeah, so I've actually my whole career I've worked for small companies, small businesses, and because geospatial technology was very specialized and mainly used by large government agencies at first, doing work for all those agencies from as a expert within a small business. So NASA for many years operated Earth satellites, and they did all sorts of Earth-based analysis in addition to exploring space. They don't do as much of that anymore. And then with both NOAA, which is our atmospheric, weather organization, and the Navy. For the Navy, we work for their meteorological division, so weather. So most of that was based on mapping the ocean and coastal environments and doing that sort of thing, and then building applications for decision support around those environments. So, like for example, FEMA responds to disasters like hurricanes. So, anytime you have a hurricane, you have the government and local officials and volunteers come in to help rebuild from the hurricanes. They usually build like a mapping system just for that to track the recovery. So, I would build those type of applications. And the NOAA is looking at weather and then conservation along coastal environments. So looking at different animal species habitats and things like that, and managing them using geospatial technology, or doing weather forecasting, which is also very map based, and running different weather models and then displaying that output on a map. So that's how I got into work for all those. So it was always very interesting because one day I might be working on an agriculture project, looking at how to make plants grow better, monitoring them from aerial or satellite images, and then another day you might be working on a disaster response, and then another day you might be working with weather prediction. So it's if you're one of those people like me who are very curious and like to learn a lot of different things. Being a geospatial technology expert can be really fun because you get to apply it in all these different fields. And you're not just doing one thing every day over and over again.
Amazing, Joel. It's really nice and wonderful, and I would say it's a big pleasure, working with such big companies because not everyone has this kind of thing. Many people they work for other big companies as well, but NASA, U.S. Navy, and FEMA, they are all big companies and very famous, and not in just USA, is in all over the world, and I would say in every country. So, Joel, how geospatial technology can help in this world to make this world a better place? Like, how can geospatial technology contribute with this?
Yeah, so I've written several books on using Python and geospatial technology, and I go a lot into that. You know, one thing it can do is help with agriculture. So it can show you things about the earth with how water flows and how healthy the soil is and plants that you're growing, so we can grow food for people. So that's what agriculture is a very important use of it to make the world a better place. And then things like disease tracking. So with the COVID-19 pandemic, which is a global pandemic, we were using it to track how the disease spread so we could find where the carriers were and try to slow it down, and then also understand where it was growing or subsiding, so we could deploy medical resources where we needed them. It also helps with managing things like forest fires. So when you're having incidents like that, it can help manage large teams of people that are responding to that. Down here on the Gulf of Mexico, we had the big oil spill in 2010. So it was very important in responding to that and cleaning up the oil. And once again, managing thousands of people working on that and showing them where to go and what to do. So yeah, there's so many ways it can help make the world a better place, and that's one of the most rewarding parts of working in this field. As you know, you can make a difference and help people out.
Wonderful. It's really great. Like it can, um, you know, find diseases. It can. So it is really wonderful because we still have AI not that smart and not that advanced. It is still in progress, but geospatial technology already have this quality. So could you tell me about more about this? Like, um, do you have any successful uh, you know that geospatial technology found any disease or something like that?
So I don't have any sort of use cases you said, or what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So we haven't. We're starting to use AI and geospatial technology, and the reason you don't see it more is because the most powerful application of AI is large language models, and geospatial technology is mostly graphical based. so so we're looking to use AI as a lot of power, and sort of AI looking for visual patterns over a large scale, like you have in a large map, is still not as advanced. So that's something we're hoping to see AI come to play a bigger role. But yeah, so it's still mostly manual, and yeah, we do a lot of just updating maps. So making sure, so when you're driving your car and you're using like Google Maps to navigate, making sure that those maps are accurate. And you used to hear stories all the time about how people would find roads and things that wouldn't not be there, or cause accidents and things. But so now I think the mapping data is really good, mainly because they've crowdsourced it. So you or anybody else can find a mistake in Google Map, or maybe something that Google Maps hasn't been added yet, and you can add it to Google Maps. There's also the open source mapping data called OpenStreetMap, where anybody in the world can contribute to it. So you can go in your town and make sure the map is accurate and update it if a new business opens or things like that. And so now that crowdsourced open source project, OpenStreetMaps, is now what a lot of companies use to update their maps. I mean, you will see cars driving around sometimes with all the cameras on it, creating maps. But I would say for the road data, it's largely a crowdsourced project now, with everybody kind of working on it, mainly volunteers. So those are some good cases where it's not just geospatial experts, but I think everybody's kind of participating now um, to make sure we have accurate world maps. And as we develop self-driving cars, making sure the map data is absolutely perfect is going to be critical, right? Because robots are going to be driving us around, and you won't have the human judgment factor. So we've got to make sure our geospatial data that enables that is absolutely perfect. So that's something we're constantly working on, is to improve the quality of the data, and getting as many people involved as we can through software that's easy to use, that volunteers can use over the web to help update our world maps.
Wonderful. So, as you mentioned about your experience, you have 20 years of experience in this. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. So, Joel, could you tell me, or could you tell us that in this 20 years of experience in this 20 years of time period, because it's not a small number, it's a big number. Which was the most challenging part in your whole career, in whole geospatial technology career?
So I say actually, it's very recent. I'm always learning, trying to keep up with new technology. And now what we're dealing with, I do a lot of work with drones. So both aerial drones, collecting LiDAR data, which is sort of the laser mapping of the Earth, and then also aerial images with drones, and then also ocean drones that are on the surface and mapping the seafloor. So I'm working with a lot of that data, and the drones can actually create much more precise and higher resolution data than we've ever had before, and more of it because it's a robot, so it never stops. And so now we're dealing with how do we process all that massive amount of data coming in from drones and make it usable. That's turning out to be a very big challenge because the software we use is not made to process that much data at that high resolution, so very detailed. So lately, that's where I've been spending a lot of my time, is dealing with all those challenges of how do we use this new type of data, which is better data, but it's just it almost overwhelms all our existing software and computer systems. So we've got to ramp up quickly and make the software more powerful, use things like AI more, and build more powerful processing systems to deal with it. But it's also very exciting.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Exactly, because every challenge it teaches you something new, um, but it really depends on the mindset, because you had a mindset of learning through
Yes.
your challenge, but we usually get depressed and we usually get panic, whenever we face challenge, but we don't see the other side of the challenge. That challenge came for any purpose, it can teach you something, and you can note it down to make sure that you're not gonna have again in your future. So Joel, could you tell us how did you overcome and how did you fix that, for the audience, for the listeners, so that they can also get this point that we don't have to be panic in this
Yeah.
situation.
So every challenge is an opportunity, right? So you can take it as an opportunity for growth. And as I said, we're at an exciting turning point in human history where we have these tools that can greatly improve what we do, to the point where we don't even know where we're going to end up. Where we're working with this technology and we know it has potential, but we don't know how it's all going to work together, what it's going to enable ideas we haven't even thought of yet. So we know we've got to work with this data. So I've been working on a lot of custom software and pushing the software we have to new limits. And it's really fun because after 20 years, I spend a lot of time doing project management and things, and a lot less daily writing software. But now this new challenge has given me an opportunity to learn new things and get back into coding more, which I enjoy. So that's, I agree. It's a big opportunity to continue to learn and then be a part of all this change and potential that we have with all this new technology. Right at the beginning of my career, technology didn't change that fast. We had that law called Moore's law that said computers would double in processing power every 18 months. So now the technology rate of change is much faster. It's a few months, 6 months at most. Whatever technology you're using is going to have changed. 10 years ago, we didn't have large language models. That algorithm was first published that enabled that in 2015, and now look how the world has changed. So if you're in the technology business now, you have to be really agile and ready to take on new challenges and constantly learn new things, and see that as an opportunity and not as a threat.
Wonderful, Joel. And if we see back, um, 1 year back, we didn't had Chat GPT as well. Chat
Right.
GPT, now still have we also have DeepSeek. We have a lot of AI tools, and they are doing competition with each other, and that competition is benefiting us.
Yes.
First, US launched the ChatGPT, then in the competition of US, China launched DeepSeek, and they're still in competition to win the race.
Yes.
But that is actually benefiting us, the pupils of this world. So thank you so much, Joel, for giving me your precious and valuable time for the amazing conversation. I used to call it conversation, not a podcast, because two people are in the front of each other from different globes of the world, and are, you know, doing a conversation with each other. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it, and I
And
applaud you for doing this and talking to people around the world.
it's my pleasure, Joel. It's really my pleasure to talk with such amazing people and to explore their wonderful life journeys. So, people, inshallah, meet you soon with another amazing guest with another amazing podcast. Till then,